you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Miranda and I teach about everything and anything related to the trucking industry and how to navigate it. So if this is a topic that interests you, feel free to subscribe down below. Okay, so today's video is actually going to be a crash course on how to start a trucking company if you have a semi-truck and trailer. The reason it's only for a semi-truck and trailer is because the registration requirements change depending on the equipment type. So I decided to narrow this topic down as much as possible. Now, I know some of you must be thinking, well, who's actually looking to start a trucking company in a market like 2022 right now? But you would be shocked at the amount of emails I get on this particular topic. Ready? Let's go! So I'll be running through everything as quickly as possible just because of the time constraints of the video and I don't want to bore anyone, but I will be releasing a course in about a month or a month and a half, a full course on how to open and manage a trucking company, and that is going to be excruciatingly detailed. The first thing you want to decide is, of course, what kind of operation you plan to run, because the registration process will depend on it. Are you planning to be an interstate carrier who is crossing state lines or an intrastate carrier who is operating within the borders of your state? Now, something to note, interstate doesn't always mean that the truck is crossing state lines. If you are an intrastate carrier who is operating within the borders of your own state, but are picking up cargo that either originated in a different state or is finalizing in a different state, you are an interstate carrier. But for that, I have another video, which I will link down below. Another thing you have to consider is what type of equipment will you drive? Will it be a reefer, dry van, flatbed? What kind of truck? Is it a hot shot? Is it a sprinter van? Etc., etc. Also, what type of commodities are you planning to haul? All these factors will make a difference when actually doing the registration of your company. Once you make a decision on your operations, I highly recommend forming a company. Now, there are different ways to form it. There is the sole proprietorship where you don't really have to do much. There is an LLC, there is a corporation. Now, I will always recommend going for an LLC because it provides the benefits of both the corporation and the sole proprietorship. An LLC will allow you to keep the business separate from yourself when it comes to liability protection, but it is taxed like a sole proprietorship because an LLC is considered a pass-through entity. Now, once your company is formed, the next thing you want to do is get an EIN. I recommend getting an EIN even if you're a sole proprietor, and it's completely free on the IRS website. Don't let those third-party providers dupe you into thinking that you have to pay for an EIN. You do not. Once you have that EIN, it will allow you to open a business bank account where brokers can pay you directly. Now that the preliminary steps are complete, it's time to think about actually opening your trucking company. Now, I am going to go to the board and I'm also going to share my screen. It's going to be a really fun video. Okay, so I broke it down into two categories: interstate versus intrastate. So if you're an interstate carrier, right, the first thing you want to do is you want to get a USDOT number and an MC number. This is going to cost you $300. Now, the question I get a lot is, do you need a CDL or a truck, a VIN number to be able to apply? Absolutely not. The application will ask you how many CDL drivers you plan to have and how many trucks, trailers, etc. you plan to have. It never asks you for the actual CDL or the VIN number of the truck. Once you complete this step, you need to register with the UCR. Again, do you need a CDL or a VIN number of the truck to do this? Absolutely not. Now, something to note, certain states do not participate in UCR. So Oregon is an example. If you're based in the state of Oregon, you will have to choose a nearby state, such as Washington or California, to be able to register with the UCR. It sounds more complicated than it really is, but basically your base state would now be Washington or California, even though you're technically based out of Oregon. The next step is to activate the motor carrier, the MC number, by getting insurance and BOC3 on file. So it doesn't matter what order you do it in, but I recommend to get the BOC3 first because it doesn't require a lot of work. To get insurance, you have to shop around, you have to call people, you have to compare quotes, and insurance quotes will depend on the radius of your operation, the age of your CDL, the age of your DOT number, what kind of commodities you haul, so on and so forth. Now, in terms of do you require a VIN number or a CDL to be able to get these, for a VOC3, no, you do not require to have a truck or CDL. But for insurance, you absolutely do. In order to get an insurance quote, they will need your MC number, they will need your DOT number, they will need the VIN number of your equipment, your CDL, and so on and so forth. So the next thing you will want to do is check with your state if there are any additional requirements that are set by your state. Some states have additional permits you must obtain before you start operating. For example, in California, we need what is known as the California number. So check with your state to see if there's anything like that. The final step is register for the new entrant audit. Yes, once you get your MC and DOT number, you actually have to call the FMCSA and register for the audit. Next is the intrastate carriers. As an intrastate carrier, what you want to do is you want to apply for your DOT. A DOT number is completely free, so that's the good news. And the second thing you want to do is obtain state-required permits and documents. There is no UCR or BOC3 for an intrastate carrier. However, insurance requirements depend on your state. Some states have their own insurance requirements, while others, such as California, they follow the federal requirements to be able to operate as an intrastate carrier within the state of California. And just as a reminder, the minimum liability insurance that you must have according to the federal regulation is $750,000 in insurance. So once you get everything registered, you need to move on to the next step. For interstate carriers, if you're operating a vehicle which has a gross taxable weight of over 55,000 pounds, you have to get the 2290 form or the heavy vehicle use tax. Then you will have to get your IFTA decals and your apportioned registration. Something to note, you cannot get IRP without paying this heavy vehicle use tax. Now, in terms of intrastate carriers, all you have to do is pay that 2290 tax again if you operate a vehicle where the taxable gross weight rating is over 55,000 pounds. You do not need IFTA, and you do not need apportioned license plates because you're not going to different states. Now, if you're an interstate carrier who's planning to run through states like New York, New Mexico, Kentucky, or Oregon, or to deliver in those states or pick up in those states, you will need state-specific permits here. Okay, I know this was a lot, but what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to share my screen on my computer, and I'm going to show you quickly how to go through all of these steps to be able to start your trucking company. Okay, now let's go through everything really, really quickly just so that you know what you are doing. So the first thing you want to do is obtain the DOT NMC number or just the DOT number. For that, you go to fmcsa.dot.gov. Then you go to registration, go down right here, do to register, click here, and you click I understand, proceed to registration. And then it will take you to this URS website. You will click new applicant, you will click next, and then you will fill out this application. Once you're done with this, and once you have your DOT number, you can go to ucr.gov. Here, all you have to do to register with the UCR is you'll have to put in the DOT number that you were assigned during the previous step, and you'll get that DOT number right away. Again, this is just for intrastate carriers. Once this is completed, you will want to get insurance and BOC3 on file. Now, insurance, I cannot show you how to get it just because this is something you have to shop around for. But in terms of BOC3, all you do is you go to fmcsa.dot.gov, put in BOC3 and click process agents right here. And the FMCSA recommends these guys. Now the BOC3 will require you to already have an MC number, which you will get in a couple of weeks in the mail. But there is a trick. You can actually see your MC number sooner than that. And all you have to do to be able to find it is about 1 to 2 business days after you fill out the application for an MC and DOT number. All you have to do is go right here. Now, this is the website. I'm going to leave the link down below. All you will do is you'll put in your US DOT number, click I'm not a robot, and search. So for example, let's use this US DOT number and leave everything else blank. I'm not a robot. This is a big trucking company in Illinois. And you will see right away, it's going to show you everything. The docket number is your MC number. Now, this is going to show up on this website about 2 business days after you apply for the authority, before you even get that letter showing you your MC number. Something to note, you will need this for BOC3. Now, in terms of additional state permits, this depends on your state, so you'll have to check your state's requirements. But what you can do is you can go to my website, go to free tools, and then state startup checklists. And you will see this Google Drive that has all the states and the different requirements. Now, it's not updated, just so that you know, so double check. I haven't had the chance to update it, but it's going to give you a good idea. Now, another thing you have to do is register for a new entrant audit. A new entrant audit only happens if you're crossing state lines, meaning you're an interstate carrier. Now, in order to register for the new entrant audit, you have to call this number right here. Now, let's go to the next thing. The next thing is the 2290 heavy vehicle use tax. I use Rapid Fire 2290. This is what I use right here. It's called 2290 Rapid Fire, excuse me. And what you will do is you will get started and fill out everything regarding your equipment, and then you will pay the necessary fees. In terms of IFTA and IRP, again, I encourage you to go to the Trucking Made Successful website under free tools, under the state startup checklists. What you will see is under every state, okay, let's click on Alabama, for example. You will see the Alabama startup checklist, and it will tell you where you have to go. Like International Registration Plan, IRP, is done online. So is IFTA. For California, it's a little bit different. IFTA is done online. IRP is done by paper. You have to mail in all your documents. So be sure to check it out to see how to get your IFTA and IRP ready. Finally, you want state permits. So we have New York, New Mexico, Kentucky, and Oregon. For New York, all you have to do is go to oscar.ny.gov. You will click Enroll Now, and you will proceed to register for the New York permit, which is good for 3 years, depending on when you register. Now, in terms of New Mexico, what you will want to do is go to this website. I will leave a link down below, and you will want to do this electronically. So you click electronically, and then it will take you to this page. Now, what you want to do is you want to scroll down and register for a commercial vehicle account. In terms of Kentucky, you want to go to drive.ky.gov. I'm going to leave a link down below, and you will want to click on Apply for a KYU license. So in terms of the Oregon permit, you have to go to Oregon Trucking Online, and then you want to click on the Oregon Motor Carrier Account application. And you have to fill this out, you have to mail it in, and you have to mail it in with a $2,000 check, which is going to act as a bond. And this will give you, they will give you that check back within a year if you're filing your Oregon miles every single month. Yes, you'll have to file them every single month at first. Then they'll give you that money back, and this makes it possible to apply for a permanent Oregon account. Now, in case you need a temporary trip permit, you will call this office number right here, and you can tell them about your truck. They will ask for the VIN number, all of the information about the truck, how many miles you're planning to run, and then they'll take a payment via credit card over the phone, and we'll send you that temporary trip permit. But I do recommend filling out this application in order for you to be able to operate in Oregon without having to call every single time. Okay, I know you're gonna hate me now, but there is more to this madness. Now we're going to talk about compliance, and I divided this into the driver portion and the equipment or truck portion. So on the driver side, what you will need to get is you need a driver application. Now, yes, this is even if you are the only person within your company and you're driving for your own company, you need to fill out a driver application. The second thing you need to do is you need to register with a random testing program, the Drug and Alcohol Consortium. This is a requirement. And before you actually start running, you have to complete a pre-employment drug and alcohol test. Now, another thing you want to do, I know a lot of people don't follow this rule, but you really should do it, is you have to check with the FMCSA clearinghouse to make sure that the driver you're hiring or you have never been in trouble with the DOT for any drug or alcohol related testing. You will also need a medical card, of course, and your CDL. Now let's move move to the truck portion. On the truck side, you will need an annual DOT inspection that has to be done annually for your truck and trailer, for your equipment. You will also need an electronic logging device unless you're exempt, which is pretty rare. You will also need, I'm going to skip here, you will need paper logs in case your electronic logging device breaks. You need paper logs as a backup. Finally, there is the most important part, which is the DOT folder, which you will use for roadside inspections. During roadside inspections, the officers will want to see a couple of things. So what has to be in your DOT folder? Well, you have to have the annual DOT inspection for your equipment, the truck and the trailer. You need your certificate of authority, your IRP registration, your trailer registration, IFTA registration, all the state permits, and insurance. But for insurance, it's not just the certificate of insurance. What you need is the Form MC90, which your agent or your insurance provider can send you. Now, there are other things that I like to keep in the DOT folder, such as the heavy vehicle use tax payments, the UCR, the fact that it's up to date, and so on and so forth. Now, this was really a general overview of how to start a trucking business, but